The Atheist Debates Patreon project presents a discussion with Dr. Darrell Ray. So hey everybody, welcome. Another video from the Atheist Debates project. And I think some of you, if you saw the title, might be going, hang on a minute, this whole channel is about debates and the discussions and all those things. And I don't know if I've ever seen a debate with Darrell Ray. The fact is, he's been on the Atheist Experience before, so you may have. And he'll be on again this Sunday. He's down here to do several of the ACA shows. For those of you who aren't familiar with his work, he's not only the author of The God Virus, but also the author of the book Sex and God, the founder of the Recovering from Religion organization, and the Psychotherapist Project, the Hotline Project that goes along with RFR. So welcome.
Well, thanks for having me, Matt. I'm glad to talk to you tonight.
Always good to have you down. One of the things that there's a number of videos that I'm going to be producing in the near future, and we teach things about the basics of logic and epistemology and what's reasonable and how to spot flaws in arguments and all those things. But one thing this project hasn't focused on yet is what to do after the debates. Because some of the people watching, well, they may want to go do like a big public formal debate at a church or a university. Most of them, I suspect, though, are looking for the tools to have better conversations with people.
Right, yeah.
And I've always thought of it in terms of you're either doing debates or maybe you're talking with family, friends, co-workers, whatever, and how to have a better job, or do a better job of having those conversations. And both the tools that I provide are useful, and tools from like Anthony Magnabosco, Street Epistemology, those have a use as well. But there's another application that, despite having been, known you for years and having promoted the Recovering from Religion project, one aspect that just occurred to me literally today before we sat down, because I knew I wanted to talk to you, was that these same tools, these same skills in the right context could potentially be very useful for something like the Hotline Project, where you're, talking with people. So why don't you tell us a little bit about RFR, the Hotline Project, what's going on there? And
okay. Well, RFR is an organization I started back in 2009. We're literally celebrating our 10th anniversary.
Awesome.
April this year was our 10th anniversary, so I'm really happy and proud about that.
I actually remember you and I and a couple other people at Aposticon sitting down at a little table a little ways away from the bar, and you were talking about the idea of this and moving forward and everything else. And so it's great to know that 10 years on.
10 years, yeah. It's a lot's happened in 10 years, but it's grown immensely, and I think it says that the methodologies we're using, which relate to what you're talking about, seem to attract people, seem to in some way help people. So I'm very interested in talking about these methodologies tonight too. But overall, our Recovering from Religion is a wide organization. We literally have almost 100 volunteers. I think we're on 4 continents now and 7 different countries, from Australia to Norway. I mean, we've got volunteers and clients everywhere. So, and we span all religions. We're pretty much English-based. We do have some Spanish capacity, but not very much at this point in time. But our focus is helping people deal with the consequences of leaving any religion. So we don't care if it's Mormons or Muslim, Baptist, doesn't matter to us. And so the methods and the tools are really important to use so that they cross all those, because a Baptist, talking to a Baptist can be different than talking to an ex-Muslim.
Right.
But the emotional issues are all the same, and they are remarkably the same. And so over the last 10 years, we've had a chat line, and we've had a call-in line, helpline, we call it, where people will call us or chat in with us and ask, I need help. Just today, an ex-minister, she said, I'm 51 years old. I'm still the music director of my church. One of my relatives is the minister. Mm-hmm. One of those things. She's dealing with incredible emotional disconnect she's now an atheist. She's leading the music in the morning. I mean, I don't care. We don't care if you're an atheist or agnostic or still want to stay a Christian. We don't care, or a Methodist. We don't care. What we care about is how do you deal with the emotions. And while I'm all a big fan of what you do and what Anthony Magnabosco does.
Well, they intersect.
Yeah, they do.
So you're talking about, here's a message Darrell got today, from a minister who no longer believes and is dealing with that. We get emails, we get calls like that to the shows.
Yeah.
Literally yesterday I got an email from a violinist who is part of the music ministry at her church, and she no longer believes. And she was like, "What do I do? Do I quit this job because I need the money? And am I supporting a bad organization? And what if I can't find another job?"
Right.
The Clergy Project.
Yeah.
There's like the holy trinity of Clergy Project, Recovering from Religion, and the Psychotherapist Hotline of getting people help. And the help, there's so many different issues that people deal with, not just the existential, angst of now I'm dealing with, I don't believe in an afterlife and these other things, but family members. And then there's people like you're talking about.
Yeah, right. So these people need emotional support, and debating skills aren't going to help.
Right.
Logic's not going to help when you're waking up in the middle of the night with a cold sweats because you're still afraid of hell. And we have people say, I've been an atheist for 10 years and I still wake up sometimes afraid of hell. Well, that's a deeply emotional programming thing. It's very psychological. It's very emotional. So we have great volunteers that we try to train them to be very good listeners and to use the skills of logic, of course. We're not against logic, but
it's
logic,
not like debate skills are useless here. It's about you're not trying to argue them out of religion. You're trying to exercise some reason and empathy.
Yeah, they've already argued themselves out of
Right.
religion. There's no argument left.
What do I do now?
Yeah. What do I do now? Now you ask if you ask good, probing, Socratic questions, is basically what a street epistemology approach is.
Right.
Or even good debate questions can be just a good Socratic question. That helps them think about new things they've never considered before.
Sure.
And then it helps them break through that ice that Christianity and all religions just want to put a layer of cold ice over the rest of your emotions. Once you can break through that, now you got to ask the right questions. What do I do now? I had another chatter again just today. There was really good chats today for some reason, and they were saying, I don't know what to think anymore. I was told everything to think.
Right.
Told everything, and now I don't know what to think. Tell me what to think. Well, our agents are not going to tell you what to think.
Right.
They're going to say, here's some ways to learn how to think, and here's some resources, and we have massive amounts of resources on our website that are constantly being updated and curated. So we point them in that direction.
And do you find, obviously there's a huge gamut of emotional experiences related to leaving religion. For me, I found my way out. I sorted through all this stuff on my own, and I don't recall ever being afraid of hell in my entire life because I walked down the aisle at a revival at the age of 5. And so I don't remember anything before then. And so it wasn't so much a fear of me ever going to hell, although that was certainly used as a tool to keep me believing. I'm not worried about it because I'm saved and I'm going to heaven. Yeah. I didn't have those issues. I had some family issues, though my family issues, until a recent event, were largely much easier than everybody else's. Yeah. And yet I hear from people, young people in particular, who've been just literally kicked out of their house, had their stuff thrown out,
right.
You won't be in my house. Married couples who one of them stops believing, and sometimes they both will over time. And sometimes there's an immediate, we're at loggerheads right now. What do we do? And oh my gosh, what about the custody issues and all that?
Yeah.
In some cases, people need legal advice. In some cases, they need, advice from a therapist. In some cases, they may just need a friendly ear to listen to say, what you're going through isn't unusual. You are nowhere near alone. And so I know that there's the primary Recovering from Religion organization, which includes the helpline and everything. But there are RFR chapters in different areas where people can go and meet up.
Yeah. Yeah, we have local meetups, and that's probably the area that's going to grow the fastest in the coming years. We're starting to see people like calling in. They like having somebody to chat with or call on the phone and talk to, but ultimately they want community. They want somebody standing in front of them or sitting in front of them talking to them. So we see that as really a huge growth area right now. That's one of our many support areas. The other support area you kind of alluded to is the Psychotherapist Project.
Right.
I do want to mention that because there's so many people who are in need. They're depressed. they're having marriage and family issues, they're having child care issues or child custody issues, all those kinds of things. Well, yeah, you may need some legal help. You probably also need some help with a therapist who's not going to send you back to Jesus or pray with you or tell you because you're an atheist,
right.
That's your problem. So we really work.
All of your problems in your marriage are spiritual, and you're the one who's failing.
Yeah, you're the one that's failing. So we, 7 years ago, we started this secular therapist project, and literally this coming month we're going to hit 400. We're at 396 therapists, wow. Registered therapists, and almost 16,000 clients. That means 16,000 people who registered on our site and looked for a therapist. Now, I'm not guaranteeing they found a therapist, but they were looking.
Sure.
So almost 400 people now are vetted by us, a group of 4 licensed, well-trained atheist psychotherapists. They all look at an application, they vote on it, and then if you're admitted to us, we can pretty much guarantee that person's going to have really good evidence-based methodology in their psychotherapy practice. So we're just, all these programs, while they've been around a while, it takes a long time to build them.
Absolutely.
And we're building them bigger and bigger, and we're here. I'm here talking to you today because I want to raise awareness for everything that's happening at Recovery from Religion. And people out in your listeners know people who are suffering, who have experienced what you really described a minute ago was really religious trauma syndrome.
Right.
And I'm using that term much more liberally now. Even though I'll be very honest, it's not in the DSM-5 yet.
No, it's something Marlene Winnell coined years ago.
Coined, right. But if you just look at her criteria, they all meet PTSD criteria.
Correct.
It's not like she's making this shit up. It's really there. We know that a child who's at 5 years old being physically abused around their religious training, I mean, beat a child is basically the Baptist religion.
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Well, right, yeah. So these people have experienced religious trauma, and there's a reason why they're waking up at night with cold sweats around fear of hell, because it was literally beaten into them at 5 years old. They may not even remember the beatings they got, but they know somewhere in their mind it was related to religion or Jesus or hell or the devil. All those things are getting. At the time you're 3, 4, 5 years old, you are learning a language, in this case maybe English. You're also learning a religion. The child's brain does not know how to ask, well, why aren't you teaching me Chinese? Why aren't you teaching me German? That doesn't occur to the 5-year-old kid. But they're getting English and they're getting Baptist or English and Mormon or English and Muslim all at the same time. Well, when they get older, their brain it's very difficult to separate these things out.
That's an incredibly, I kind of understood that already, but it's an interesting way to look at it, because if you think about the way we go about learning language, yes, there's instruction in school and you learn the alphabet and you learn specific words, but the way you initially learn language is from the pattern recognition part of your brain, understanding the context. Right. And it's the same way, and I don't mean to put children in the same category as dogs or whatever, but I watched a brilliant trained dog show the other night where the dog's just doing the most amazing tricks using hand signals or voice commands and other things. It's the same way that we learn stuff, but if the context in which you're learning whatever your primary language is also surrounded with the religious language, it may be incredibly difficult in the future to separate those two.
It is.
So when you hear a word, in the same way when you smell a smell, it can bring back these religious
trigger stuff
right off the bat. And sometimes it may be completely intractable, where when you're talking about something, you can't help but think about it in a religious context because that's where it started.
If you think about the parents, just let's put a hunter-gatherer system, which our brain was evolved in, your parents say, don't go into the bush over there because there could be lions or hyenas and they eat you. That parent says, don't go into that bush because there's a demon over there. Your brain doesn't know how to tell the difference.
Those are the same threats.
They're exactly the same, and they're existential threats.
Yep.
You could be eaten alive. So the brain imbibes that, which is a healthy thing to do if you're going to get eaten by lions. But the brain doesn't know how to, at 12 or 15 years old, to say, wait a minute, there aren't any demons. There are lions, but there's no demons. And teasing that out becomes very difficult. And that's what Recovery from Religion does. It helps people tease that stuff out by sending them resources, by just listening to them, by using good questioning techniques, and by recommending good therapists if that's what they need.
Sure.
We also, you may not, your listener may not know, but we cooperate very closely with the Clergy Project.
Right.
Even though they're not a part of Recovery from Religion, we really work hand in glove with them, because you wouldn't be surprised, but it is fucking surprising.
Yeah.
How traumatic it is for a minister to leave. They could lose their family, they could lose their retirement. A lot of churches won't give you retirement if you leave their religion. You know, there's a lot of you lose your house, you lose your entire social support network. So in many ways, ministers have it worse than almost anybody else.
And it's, you know, it's a process that for many is like grieving. I've heard people describe it as if everybody in your family died at once.
Yeah, right.
And that's not that really that. That's not hyperbole. That's the way it can feel. This oppression. I've been fortunate. I really wish more people knew and were involved with, and maybe we'll sit down with Dan Dennett, Linda Lascola, and Dan Barker at some point to talk about the Clergy Project, because I've been fortunate enough to have members of the Clergy Project reach out to me or be directed to me. Yeah. I'm not a counselor, but I'm happy to talk people through things. Sure. And so there are several. Well, obviously, Jerry DeWitt's like a brother to me, and
right, yeah.
So he was, the first one to shed his anonymity on behalf of the Clergy Project.
Right.
But I am friends with several other people that are in the Clergy Project now who are not out, who will occasionally call and talk about what's going on in their life. Some of them had, marriage difficulties after giving it up. Some of them had lots of financial struggles and
big
job
time,
stuff.
yeah.
And the things that people don't think about is ministry isn't just the guy in the pulpit that's preaching to you. A lot of churches will have a number of different ministers and preachers. We talked about the music ministry stuff earlier, but I remember, the people who worked in children's church or Sunday school. I know magicians who perform almost exclusively for churches, and singers, entertainers.
The whole industry.
And now this is their whole thing. And you could get back to Dan Barker, who wrote musicals that I performed in my church. And I love the fact that he still gets residuals from some of those.
Yeah, I do too.
One of the things, when we post this, I'll do my best to make sure I put all the contact information up and everything for people for Recovering from Religion. But let's go through, now the RFR is going through a lot of growth. We're anticipating really good things. We're, your tenure, I say we, I'm not the guy.
Well, we consider you a part of the family. You've been supporting us since the very beginning.
I appreciate it, and it's a great thing to support. But for the people out there who may have an interest, there's a number of different areas where they can participate. One is obviously with the helpline as a volunteer. Right. One, if you're a licensed therapist and you want to participate with the Psychotherapist Project, you can do that as well. Another would be for local RFR chapters. Right. If there's not one in your area, you may be able to start one.
Yeah. Right. And we provide the training for all these things.
Yeah, it's contact RFR, and then But apart from those three, what other positions or roles can people take on apart from just continually recommending this to people?
Yeah, we have a lot of different places that we plug people into. When somebody volunteers for us, we ask them to fill out an application, go through an interview process, and then tell us what their interests are, and then we try to plug them into the things that they have an interest for.
Wait, are you telling me that you're running organizations in a smart, evidence-based fashion?
Well, we try to. We don't think we're always successful, but we try to. But we have really, really good training, I think, but more importantly, of really good peer training and peer supervision, if you will. Mm-hmm. So we don't just turn people loose. People can go to recoverfromreligion.org and hit the chat button and chat with one of our agents, and be confident that agent's going to be thoughtful and careful in the way they interact with you, and they'll have good questions to ask you. And no matter what you say, they're going to have a way to help you think that through, never challenging, never judging. And we're not a deconversion. We don't give a shit about conversion. Stay religious or don't. We don't care. We just want to help you deal with it.
Helping people recover.
Yeah.
From whatever it is, in some cases.
Yeah, exactly. And we train people for the local groups, of course, and we have a phone line if people want to call into 184 I doubt it is the name of is the number of the phone call. And,
I'll try to remember to put it right there. 184 I doubt it.
Yeah, or just chat on the chat line. You'll get a good, well-trained agent. And if you want to volunteer, click on the volunteer button and apply, and we'll send you through the process. And at the other end, you'll get to talk to real human beings that are struggling with those kind of things.
So the website to direct people to get started from this is
recoveringfromreligion.org.
recoveringfromreligion.org, which I'll also, look.
But those are all kind of the everyday things. One of the cool things we're really, really excited about is this fall, September 2021, I think it is, we're doing what we're going to call the fall excursion in the beautiful mountains of North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
And we're having a lot of people coming in to a beautiful, gorgeous retreat center. And it's going to be a recovery retreat. And you can come there and you can talk about recovery. We'll have 4 psychotherapists right there from the Psychotherapy Project. And you can do whatever you want. You can go for a hike, you can fish, you can not do anything, you can sleep all day. We don't care. It's not a church camp. Right. You don't have to go.
On today's agenda, we'll be talking about how Jesus doesn't actually love you at noon, and then we'll have a potluck dinner. Yeah.
So I'm a mountain climber. I'm going to take them out. We're going to not climb mountains, but we'll do some hiking. We got an astronomer coming in to talk about the universe and stars. We have a meditation leader, Candace Gorham. Do you know Candace?
I do know Candace.
Candace is going to be there as one of the psychotherapists.
Hi, Candace.
So Candace will be there among 3 other psychotherapists that are coming in. And then a lot of our volunteers will be there. It'll just be a safe place to talk about recovery issues and to meet other people who are going through the same stuff you are. And we're excited.
That's the sort of thing that we find we need everywhere. It's setting aside discussion about safe spaces. The truth is, no matter what your views are on other things, by and large, we're social creatures.
Yep, right.
And when you have been in this particular group forever, and now you're excluded from it, either they have ostracized you for no longer marching in line with everybody else, or you find that this is no longer a fit for you. One of the most difficult and frustrating spaces for people to be in is to feel alone and flailing and not know what to do about it.
Yep, right.
And so Recovering from Religion is not only providing online resources in the chat and the helpline, but access to the Psychotherapist Project, the retreat that you're talking about, and these local how many local chapters are there now? Do we know?
I think we got about 25.
25?
Yeah. There's another component we don't tell people about a lot, but that's our online community. Mm-hmm. Now you can go on Facebook and find an ex-Jehovah's Witness, or you can go to Reddit and find ex-Baptist or something. But those aren't really safe spaces in the sense that somebody's monitoring them and controls aren't going to get in there. So what we do is when people chat in with us and they say, I'm in the military, and my CO is really religious. What do I do?
Right.
We'll actually talk to them about that stuff, or we refer them to the military Freedom from Religion military branch. But then we invite them to our online community, which is a private, secret community. I guess private, not secret, but private, in Slack, an application that is commonly used. And then go in there and they can look that there's ex-Baptists, ex-Mormons, there's military, LGBTQ, black non-believers. All these groups are in there, and you can join any or all of those groups and talk to other people who are coming from exactly the same background you are.
Yep.
So if you're currently in the military, you can get into our military channel. If you're ex-Baptist, you can get into our ex-Baptist channel. And you can join any channel you want. But what you can do is then get community, if you will, from online, at least until you can find a community local. And we really put a lot of effort into helping you find a community. So if you're from Huntsville, Alabama, and you're looking for a secular group, we'll get online. We'll search. We'll give you 3 groups within 60 seconds after you call us. We can have those groups in your email if you want them. So we're really, and we don't push we push everybody.
No,
we push you guys.
This is a point of extra amusement for me because I've been hosting the Atheist Experience for like 14, 15 years now. And I can't count the number of times somebody has called in and said, I live in such and such a place, and I'm the only atheist here. And not only is that absolutely false unless you're the only person in town, or it's you and your family only, But quite often, I'll just pull up my laptop during the call and Google atheist and that town name, and I will find sometimes there are multiple organizations.
I know, yeah.
And that's actually been a point of frustration for the atheist community of Austin, because the atheist community of Austin's and the show has been around for 21, 22 years or something at this point. And yet there are people in Austin who've been in Austin forever who were completely unaware of our existence, and other secular organizations.
We got an Austin chatter about 2 weeks ago who says, I think I'm the only atheist in Austin. Yeah.
Okay. I think you might be being...
They weren't a troll.
Are you sure?
No, they weren't.
It's funny because people will be like, oh, well, you're an atheist in Texas. And I always remind them, no, I'm not an atheist in Texas. I'm an atheist in Austin.
Yeah, right.
Which is this liberal, hippie, let's smoke weed and drink and get naked and swim in Town Lake bastion of reality amongst a sea of irrationality. But
yeah, no, that's not the way what was... When you listen to a chatter like that, they have been inside of their Southern Baptist bubble, and they were forbidden even to have a cell phone or even have internet access, perhaps, until they were 25 years old, until they left home or whatever. So it's hard to believe, but you really could not know the atheist experience,
because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And I'll be the first to admit, I drove around today because one of the things is we'd like to find a church building that is for sale for us to move into.
Yeah.
There's no shortage of churches in Austin. I drove down 2 different streets today, and it was church, 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 and then some houses, and then church, church, church.
Yeah.
Well, if that's been your entire environment, if you weren't somebody who ever checked out public access, if you weren't involved, I mean, obviously we have, pride festivals, and Austin's an incredibly liberal town, but if you've just been steeped in the church environment, you may not have a clue as to what's out there.
No, you're right.
But
before we go, I want to make one big statement. The one group that's given us more clients than all the other groups practically put together is you guys. The Atheist Experience consistently sends us chatters and phone callers. I heard about you on the Atheist Experience. I'm calling in to find out what you can help me with. We love that, and we really appreciate you doing that. Yeah.
And that's the reason that Darrell's in town this weekend. Tonight, you and I are going to be on secular sexuality, which nobody will know until... You can go back and watch the episode, because this isn't going to be posted by then.
Yeah.
And then you're going to San Antonio to work with FACT and some other groups there. Then you come back on Sunday. You'll be on the Atheist Experience and everything else.
Talk Heathen.
Talk Heathen. I shouldn't say and everything else, since those guys are my friends too. Last thing. If there's somebody out there who hasn't got the message yet that either there's an organization in RFR that may meet some of their needs, or they may have the skill set and the tools to help somebody else, let's remind them of how to contact Recovering from Religion and the types of things that they might be able to do.
Go to recoverfromreligion.org and hit the chat button if you want to talk to an agent. Hit the volunteer button if you want to go through a volunteer process and training and become a volunteer to talk to people. Or hit the excursion button if you want to find out about coming to the excursion in September and meeting other people live with other volunteers in North Carolina.
Outstanding. Well, I want to thank you for coming down. It's always a pleasure to have you down here and to agree to sit in on this. Hopefully everybody who follows the Atheist Debates project will find something that they can apply their skills to, a point of interest and passion, and help out all of the other people who are, in some cases, I've met people where all they needed was one tiny little piece of information, and then the whole world starts making, oh, you mean there's a group for me?
Yeah.
I'm not alone. Great. And then they go from the depths of depression and despair to just being outstanding activists and compassionate people working towards a better world.
Yep.
So.
And if you're a local free thought group or atheist group, help start a Recovery from Religion group in your area, because it actually feeds your group. People are leaving religion. They're not going to walk into an atheist meeting. Generally speaking, they have a halfway point, and we're the halfway point. You need that halfway point for the other group.
Outstanding. Well, thanks again for this. Thanks to all of you for watching, and I'll see you next time with some more Atheist Debates project information. Bye-bye. This video is made possible by supporters of the Atheist Debates Patreon project. You can find more information and add your support at patreon.com/atheistdebates.